Welcome to Lively Lewis Stories.
Buckle up, because you're about to join Levi and Ivy on an adventure.
All you need is your imagination, and off we
go! Lively Lewis Stories!
Ready or not, here I come, called out Ivy as she stepped out from behind the tool shed. Levi was great at hide and seek, but Ivy was getting better every game they played. And right now she was using her detective skills to seek out Levi's hiding spot. She checked in the treehouse. No Levi. She checked behind the big evergreen trees. No Levi. She checked under the picnic table, on the side of the house, under the deck, and even inside, which is technically off limits, but still no Levi. He's getting really good at hiding, thought Ivy to herself. It's never taken me this long to find him. But then Ivy remembered that the garden in their backyard was in full bloom and could be a great place to hide. As Ivy made her way toward the garden, she saw some leaves move on the huge tomato plants that lined the fence. She knew that had to be Levi. As she got ready to jump over there and yell, "Found you!" a little bunny hopped out from underneath the big green leaves. "Hi, little bunny. Have you seen my brother Levi anywhere?" asked Ivy with a giggle. The bunny just looked at her for a few seconds and then hopped away. Ivy still thought the garden could be a great hiding spot for Levi and opened the gate to get a better look. She searched by the roses, under the table that her mom used to plant flowers, and next to the bean plants, but still no Levi. Just when she was ready to give up, she heard something. It sounded like her brother. "Levi, is that you?" she asked into the air as she looked around the garden. Meanwhile, Levi was indeed nearby, curled up in a ball between two huge hoses that were piled on top of each other in the corner of the garden. They were piled up by the back of the tool shed, which was built at least 50 years ago by the original owners of the house. Minutes before, as Levi was waiting for Ivy to try and find him, he started to get a little bored. "I can't believe it's taking her this long," whispered Levi to himself. "What am I going to do to pass time?" He started counting the tiny rocks and pebbles that were lying on the ground in front of him. 45, 46, 47, 48, counted Levi in his head. When that was done, he moved on to trying to pet the little spider that had built a web just above his head on the side of the tool shed. "Don't be scared, little guy," said Levi, reaching his hand out toward the spider as it scurried away quickly under one of the tool shed's wooden shingles. Levi then found a stick and started tapping on the tool shed like a drum. As he tapped faster and faster, he noticed that one of the wooden shingles was loose. The more he tapped, the more the shingle moved, until suddenly it fell off the side of the tool shed, and along with it fell a piece of paper? Levi loved an adventure, just like his sister, so he didn't waste any time unfolding the paper to see what mysteries were written on it. Well, it was better than he could have ever imagined. "A treasure map?" Levi shouted in a whisper before putting his hands over his mouth. On the one hand, Levi wanted his hiding spot to remain a mystery and win the hide-and-seek game. And on the other hand, he very much wanted to show Ivy the treasure map so they could go on an amazing adventure together. So Levi calling out in excitement was just what Ivy had heard when she was looking around the garden. "Levi, is that you?" she called out again. "Please come out. I can't find you. I'll close my eyes so I don't see your amazing hiding place." Levi liked the sound of that. He could win the game, keep his great hiding place, and share the treasure map with Ivy. So when he peeked over the two curled up hoses and saw his sister's eyes were closed tight, he quickly crawled out from behind the tool shed. "Ivy! Ivy! Come here quick!" Levi called out, waving the treasure map over his head. Since Ivy didn't know what all the commotion was about yet, she didn't run right over. She thought maybe Levi wanted to brag about how good he was at hide and seek or something like that. "What, Levi?" Ivy asked as she walked over to him. "And yes, you're very good at hide and seek." "Hide and seek? What? No, this isn't about hide and seek, even though I am really good. This is about what I found in the garden," shouted Levi as he opened up the treasure map again and held it up so Ivy could see it. It took her a minute to realize what she was looking at. It looked old, it looked mysterious, and most importantly, it looked real. Is this some kind of joke, Levi? Or is this a real treasure map of our backyard? Asked Ivy, looking very excited, but also a little skeptical. It's real, Ivy, and it leads to some kind of treasure that's hidden right here in our backyard, said Levi. I think we need to follow every last clue and find out what's waiting at the end. What do you say? Ivy's eyes sparkled with the thought of treasure waiting to be discovered. It could be gold or jewels or gems, exclaimed Ivy. We could be rich. We could buy anything we want, shouted Levi before he lowered his voice. But we have to keep this a secret. If anyone else finds out, we'll have to share the treasure with them. Levi and Ivy quickly ran out of the garden and up their treehouse, where they were sure no one would ever be able to see the treasure map. They opened it up on the floor and looked it over closely. It looks like we need to start out at the tool shed, said Levi, pointing to a little drawing of the tool shed on the map. I can't believe we found a real treasure map, said Ivy. I just know the treasure will be something amazing. What are you going to buy with your part of the treasure? Asked Ivy. So many toys, said Levi. What are you going to buy? So much candy, said Ivy. They were certainly very excited about spending the treasure they hadn't found yet, and certainly weren't thinking of anyone else but themselves. Levi and Ivy walked over to the tool shed and checked the map again. Now that they were at the starting point, they had to follow each clue very closely. The first clue said, what kind of flower would you find on a calendar? Levi and Ivy thought and thought. The garden and backyard were full of lots of flowers, but which would be on a calendar? A rose? No. A sunflower? No, said Ivy. What could it be? Levi was really good at riddles and first thought of the things that were on a calendar. There are numbers, a month, and of course the days, said Levi as a light bulb went off in his head. That's it, days. The answer is Daisy. The answer is Daisy, like Daisy. You're right, called out Ivy as they looked off toward the section of the garden filled with hundreds of daisies. There they looked at the next clue on the map. It said to count the number of petals in the flower and take that number of steps forward. This is going to be so easy, said Levi. I'll be spending that treasure in no time at all. You'll be spending the treasure? Snapped Ivy. Don't you mean we'll be spending the treasure? Oh, yeah, sure, said Levi, looking focused. The next clue on the map said, look up, and the answer to the next clue would be right there. The next clue said, what goes away and never stays? What's another way to say go away? Said Ivy. She was getting the hang of how to solve these riddles. Get out of here. Get out of here? Move on? Leave, said Levi. That's it, leave. The answer to the riddle is leaves. They always go away and never stay, said Ivy. Good job, Ivy. But I basically gave you that answer, said Levi. Let's keep going to get our treasure. Ivy grabbed the map. Maybe I can hold it for a bit, she said. Hey, don't grab the map. You're going to rip it, called out Levi. And as they pulled the old piece of paper back and forth, they heard it begin to tear. Stop, shouted Ivy. No, you stop, shouted Levi back. But it was too late. The map ripped in half, and Levi and Ivy tumbled backwards, each holding half of the map in their hands. Look what you did, shouted Levi and Ivy together. You ripped the map. Now I'll never be able to find my treasure. It seemed that Levi and Ivy were becoming more and more interested in finding the treasure for themselves rather than having fun and sharing an adventure together. But maybe, just maybe, by the end of the treasure hunt, they'll find something more important than treasure. I'm just going to follow my half of the map, said Levi, standing up and brushing the dirt off his pants. And I'll follow my half of the map, said Ivy as she jumped up and walked away. They would quickly find out that working together and sharing the adventure was the only way to get to the treasure. Ivy walked over to the deck and read the first half of the next clue on her half of the map, which said, Take 5 steps. Well, it looks like I got the better part of the next clue, whispered Ivy to herself. I'll just head back over to the tree and take 5 steps. But while she was doing that, Levi was reading the next clue on his half of the map, which just happened to be the second half of the clue Ivy just read. The clue said, for each letter of the name of the tree you're standing under. Levi saw that the tree they had been standing under was an elm, so that's 3 letters. But what was he supposed to do with that information? Levi stood near the tree looking very confused, and so did Ivy, when she couldn't figure out what to do after walking 5 steps. They stood there in silence until finally they looked at each other and at the same time said, "What does your half of the map say?" At that moment, they realized, like many things in life, they needed a little help. To get to a full clue, they would have to work together. "I'm sorry that I was acting selfish and I ripped the map," said Ivy. "And I'm sorry that I kept calling the treasure mine," said Levi. "Whatever we find at the end of this map will be ours to share." "That's a great idea," Ivy began. "And maybe we can share it with Mom and Dad too." "And our friends?" added Levi. "Great idea," said Ivy. Ivy and Levi held out their piece of the map until it looked whole again. That's when they saw the full clue. Take 5 steps for each letter of the name of the tree you're standing under. "This makes sense now," said Levi and Ivy together. "This is an elm tree, which has 3 letters. E-L-M, said Levi. "So 3 times 5 equals 15 steps, said Ivy with a smile. They took 15 big steps from the base of the elm tree and ended up back at the tool shed where it all had begun. They looked at the map and the final clue was there waiting for them. It said, "What 2 things grow the more you spread them around?" After the day they had, it didn't take Levi and Ivy long to solve this riddle. As they stood in the middle of the beautiful garden, working together to get to the end of this mysterious treasure map, they both knew the answer. "It's love," said Ivy. "And seeds," added Levi. They both knew they had figured out the final clue and danced around with excitement. As they did, they bumped into the side of the tool shed. Another loose wooden shingle came off, and instead of a treasure map falling out, this time it was a small cloth bag. Levi picked up the bag and noticed a small handwritten tag on it. The tag said, "May whoever finds this bag know the power of teamwork, dedication, patience, and love. For if you have those in your life, great things will grow." The treasure map and the little bag must have been left here by the people who owned the house before us so many years ago, said Levi. "Hold out your hand, Ivy. I think I know what's in there." As Ivy held out her hand, Levi turned the bag upside down and spilled out hundreds of wildflower seeds. "This is our treasure," exclaimed Ivy. "Not gold or jewels or gems, but another chance for us to work together and add something beautiful to our backyard that we can all enjoy. Flowers are the perfect thing to share with you, me, Mom, Dad, and our friends," added Levi with a smile. Levi and Ivy spent the rest of the afternoon planting the seeds and the next few weeks waiting for them to grow. When they did, they filled their garden with bright colors and lovely smells, which invited butterflies, bumblebees, and hummingbirds from all over to visit. "I couldn't have asked for a better treasure," said Ivy. "I agree," said Levi as he sat with his sister in the garden enjoying a simple summer afternoon.
Did you learn a lesson from this story?
If so, what was it?
And parents, do your kids have a story idea?
Leave a comment on our Apple Podcast review page with 5 stars, the idea, and your kid's name for a chance to join Levi and Ivy on their next adventure. Until next time.
Thanks for listening. Come back for more.